My testing setup is now ready to go. So now I get to explore the age-old question that every engineer and software tester asks him or herself around this time. What tests should I write? This is a very confusing question to ask ourselves. So whenever you start writing tests, I encourage you to answer a simple question. What behavior do you really care about with this contract? When I start looking at the lottery, I start thinking about I'll go ahead and head over to my lottery here. So I start thinking about the enter function um, right here. And at a very low level, I'll probably want to ensure that anytime someone calls enter, I want to be 100% sure, 100% certain that their address gets added to the players array. Okay, and the players array right here. Okay, so I want to ensure that if anyone calls enter and they send in the correct amount of money, which is at least 0.01 ether, where do I have that? I should have that somewhere in here. There it is. Sorry, it's right there in front of me. 0.01 ether. I should see their address get added to the array. So I'm going to attempt to enter into the lottery and then assert that this player's address appears in the player's array, and I can access the player's array by using the getPlayers method. So let me give this a shot. Head over to my test. I'm going to add on another it block. Okay. And as usual, the first argument will always be a string, and the second argument, well, it's a little bit different for this one, but this is actually going to be now the third argument, which is the logic inside the arrow function. The second argument is actually going to be async, but let me kind of getting ahead of myself. So allows one account to enter, okay? So that's the description, which is always a string, and that's always the first argument of an it statement. And you see that I put this time the async. It's not the second argument. No, I misspoke there, but it's actually part of the second argument, which is the arrow function. And I've put it inside of the arrow function, and this is kind of what is this considered? What, ES7? And so I've marked this code to be asynchronous because it definitely will have some async code inside of it. So inside the code itself, I'm going to immediately attempt to enter into the lottery. So I'm going to say await lottery.method or methods.enter and also .send. All right. So I'm saying await lottery methods enter and send. And in this case, I want to ensure that I specify who is attempting to enter into the lottery. And I also need to ensure that I send some amount of ether. So let me add in who is attempting to enter. Okay. And so, and you do that inside of send, create an object. And inside this object, you have the property type of from, and then the value is accounts with an index of 0. Okay, and then a comma at the end. And then secondly, I need to ensure that I send along the amount of money with this transaction. In order to send along some amount of money, I need to specify the value property and assign it like so. So this is the property type of value. And to specify the amount I want to send along, I would use a string and then enter in the number of way that I want to send. So in this case, it would actually be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So in way, it's like 13 zeros after the 1 because I need to send along at least 0.01, as we saw here, ether. 0.01 ether. So units of ether, that can be converted to the appropriate amount of way. So instead of writing this very confusing string, which is very easy to make a mistake on, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to reference Web3. I'm going to do like so, Web3 utils two-way, and then I can pass in the amount of ether that I want, like so. So it's actually 0.02. Then I need to specify the denomination or the units for this string. That would be the second argument. In this case, is way. All right. So as a second argument to the two-way method, I pass in a string of way. So the Web3 utils library will return the equivalent amount in way. So this entire function here is to keep me from having to count out all the zeros in way and possibly making a mistake. And it's also much more legible. Okay. All right. So this will enter me into the lottery immediately. And after we'll attempt to call the players method and get back a list of players. So I need to return players, which will be a list of addresses, okay? And I can then ensure that the appropriate number of addresses are present inside of the array, all right? And so that will look like, so players, and inside of it, and again, this is asynchronous, so lottery dot methods, and remember I said get players is where we can access the array of players. So get players, and then I have to chain on call, and inside of call, an object which will have a property type of from, and then the value is of accounts indexed at 0. Okay. So again, I'm using the await keyword because this is an asynchronous method to attempt to reach out to a contract and obtain some value. So now players should be an array. So players should be an array, and the only elements inside that array should be the addresses of accounts indexed at 0. So now I can write two separate assertions, one that's going to make sure there's only one record inside the array, and another to ensure that the correct address is stored inside. So I'm going to start with the assert dot equal, and that looks like so. So assert dot equal, and so the equal method takes the value that it should be, so accounts indexed at 0, and the second argument is the value that it really is, which is players indexed at 0. Okay. All right. So now I can say assert dot equal again, and let's see. So assert dot equal again. I guess I could just this is what I'm going to do. Assert dot equal, and then this time, the first argument is actually going to be, again, what we want it to be, which is one address or one player. And then the second one is what it really is, which is players, which is the array, players.length, which represents the array of players. So first argument will be one player, and the second argument, players.length. So with this equal method, the arguments are always the value that it should be and the value that it really is. All right, so I've saved this. I'll go ahead and run the test again in my terminal. And let me clear this up a bit. So npm run test. And I should see two tests passing, one for deploying a contract. Let's see, allows one account to enter. So it's actually failing. Allows one account while converting too many decimal places. Oh, interesting. Okay, so let's see what's going on there. Okay, so I had to go away and actually get a second set of eyes on my test from a colleague. And it looks like after I finish this video, I'm going to take a break because the mistake was quite simple right here. I have way as a second string when it should be ether. And so now if I save this and head back here and do an npm run test, and so yeah, now you see that I've got my two tests are passing. So I am going to take a break because that was a little mistake that I made there that I didn't apparently see right away. I think I've been working on this all morning a bit too much. So I'm going to take a break, and in the next video, I'll set up some tests to ensure that multiple accounts can be entered and ensure that each of those addresses gets stored in the player's array. See you then.